Good morning, all, and welcome to the second series of Leadership Conversation of RBSA. Today's conversation is focused on city gas distribution business in India. And today, we have very eminent guest and speaker, Mr. E.S. Ranganathan. Mr. Ranganathan is a managing director at Indraprasth Gas Limited, that is IGL, which is the largest CNG distribution company in India. During the tenure of Mr. Ranganathan as managing director, the market capitalization of IGL has increased 5 times. Total sales has been increased 4 MMS CMD to 6 MMS CMD, which is a growth of about 50%. Number of compressed gas station, that is CNG station, has also been increased in tune of 50%. The household connection, that is the PNG connection, has been doubled during his tenure as a managing director. Under his leadership, IGL won the right to develop CGD infrastructure in Myanmar, Yangon, which is a strategical international initiative of IGL, as well as India. Mr. Ranganathan has been conferred with Forbes India Leadership Award 2019. He has also been adjudged the winner in Star PSU category in Business Standard Annual Award last year. Before joining Indraprasth Gas Limited, Mr. Ranganathan was executive director in GAIL, where he has significant achievements. To his credit, including being in charge for construction and successful commissioning of Dahej Vijapur, Vijapur Dadri, and Bawan Nangal pipeline projects. Once again, I welcome you, sir, on behalf of RBSA as well as all participants. Today, we have my colleague Ankur Wahal, who is a co-moderator with me in this session. Ankur has more than 18 years experience in corporate finance, and he has done his master in finance as well as master in law. He has also done his master in management from Bocconi University, Italy. Before joining RBSA, Ankur has exposure experience working with large firms like Ernst & Young, Deloitte, SBI, KFs, Mazars. Presently, Ankur heads our North India practice of RBSA in investment banking as well as financial valuation service segment. I'm confident this is interesting because we have the eminent guest, Mr. Ranganathan, today, who has large experience of the industry. Mr. Ranganathan, we all know Indraprasth Gas Limited has started its operation in 1999. That time, only 9 CNG stations and close to about 1,000 consumers of PNGs. Today, IGL has operation across Delhi, Noida, Greater Noida, Ghaziabad, Rewari, Muzaffarnagar, and several other geographical areas. And as I have mentioned, approximate total CNG station spread of IGL is close to 500, and the consumer beneficiary of PNG connections are close to 13 lakhs now. IGL has also ventured into commercial as well as industrial business, having 5,000 plus consumers in industrial / commercial space. Mr. Ranganathan, can I request you if you can run us through, for the benefit of all the participants, through the IGL journey till date and its future business plan in this space? That will be beneficiary for all of us.
Sure, Manish. Good morning, all. It's a pleasure and honor to be here today, and thank you, RBSA, for organizing this webinar. As you all know, Indraprasth Gas Limited has grown into the biggest CGD company in the country in the last 21 years. It started with, as you said, humble beginnings, and now we have 555 CNG stations. We have, these are servicing more than 11 lakh CNG vehicles which are plying in Delhi and NCR. Plus also we are touching now 14 lakh domestic customers and over 6,000 commercial and industrial customers. So this has come out through, massive infrastructure expansion. We have put up more than 14,000 kilometers of pipeline, out of which 1,000 kilometer is actually steel pipeline. Plus each CNG station also has been, put up with quite a bit of expenditure. This actually, if you look back, IGL was set up on the by the order of the Honorable Supreme Court with an objective to counter extreme pollution which was happening in Delhi. Today we have been providing eco-friendly fuel. Now we have grown to 18 districts in the country, covering 11 GAs and spread over 4 states. We are the sole supplier of CNG and PNG in Noida, Greater Noida, Ghaziabad, in NCR, then Hapur, Muzaffarnagar, Shamli and Meerut, parts of Meerut, Fatehpur, Hamirpur and parts of Kanpur in UP. Then in Haryana, we have Rawadi, Gurgaon, Karnal and Kaithal. Plus also we have Ajmer, Pali, Rajsamand in Rajasthan. So with the new licensing round, IGL has quite grown, and I'm happy to say that we are serving close to 4.5 crore population in this country. That's roughly, if you will see, around 10% of the population. Plus also we are actually on the growth path, and we are investing close to 2,000 crores in the next 3 years in the new GAs, and we have plans to set up 95 more CNG stations this year, and including the 40 stations in the new GAs, 55 stations in the old area. And we are also planning to connect close to 3 lakh houses this year, including the new areas. Around 179 kilometers of steel pipeline will be laid, and 2,300 kilometers of MDPE line also will be laid in the year 2021.
Sir, thank you very much. Sir, 4.5 crore population serving is a big number, sir. But sir, as I can capture from the conversation, sir, the kind of geographical areas and area of operation probably you have described. Can I say, sir, it is more of North India focus? So I think is there any strategy behind that to be North India specific, or there are plans to spread across national level, the country level, India level as well?
No, we have, of course, plans to spread on a national canvas. But then you see the cost we can optimize if in contiguous areas, the operation cost, sharing of manpower, equipments and all. So that gives us a leverage to quote a very high figure in the areas contiguous to our already given areas of operation. So we have quoted for more than 16 GAs, and half of them were in South India and West India. But then, it's a bidding process. So to be successful, it's not that you do aggressive. Somebody should not be more above you. So it is just a matter of chance that we are now confined to North India, and it will be a matter of time before we spread to all over the country. And plus also we have plans to go abroad also. You have mentioned about Myanmar. So we are looking at Myanmar. We have got an MOU with Osaka Gas Corporation for looking at areas, in other Southeast Asian countries also.
Sure. Sir, a few years back, between the year 2013 and 2015, I can capture there is certain acquisition which has been done by IGL. There were set of acquisition which includes the acquisition 50% stake in Central UP Gas, as well as another 50% stake in Maharashtra Gas, sir. But those were done in 2013, 2015, sir. This acquisition has been done, some time back. IGL of late has not announced any recent acquisitions, sir. Is there any strategy to grow inorganically? Bidding, I understand, sir, it is by chance, sir, it is North India specific. But, sir, inorganic acquisition, I mean, acquisition and inorganic growth, does that, is there something planned on IGL's card or in future? What to say about that, sir?
IGL always had an appetite for investment, the inorganic growth, investment in existing GAs, acquiring stake or acquiring companies which are already working in various GAs. So that's what you saw in when we acquired 50% of CUGL and MNGL, which has been doing very well. So we are always on the lookout. We always look for opportunities and engage with various companies for acquisition, because we are a debt-free company with some liquid cash, so we want to effectively implement it for investment. Right now, we have got also some 5 areas in 9th and 10th round, so that will take up some investment, but we are still open to looking for new things. You may hear something, in the next 1 year, some acquisition by IGL.
Wonderful, sir. It's good to hear, sir. Sir, that is always there, sir, because whenever we are talking, whether we talk about with the investor on street, or we talk to private equity funds or the bankers to some extent, so they are always keen to participate in CGD sector, because CGD sector is something we all know, as we are discussing. It's quite blooming sector, sir. Sir, they tell us, all these investors, they tell us this is a huge potential, as you are describing in this segment. Can you, sir, share your outlook on the potential of CGD in India? What is the current size of the industry? Some broad number kind of thing. And, sir, how big this market can be after the accurate and appropriate implementation of 9th round and 10th round of the bidding, which was really substantial. So what can be the growth in the potential we are envisaging in this market segment?
Yeah, actually, CGD is on the cusp of a exponential growth because of the 9th and 10th round. If you will look at up to the 8th CGD bidding round, we had 96 geographical areas in 23 states. And geographical area, when you mean over a period, it had grown from city to districts. But now in the 9th and 10th, they had actually given 178 GAs. And one of the uniqueness of these rounds were that each GA was, some of the GAs were consisting of more than one district, some were 2, some were 3. So this is adding another 280 districts. So that brings that the total country's 50% geographical area is now covered by licenses for city gas distribution operations, and 73% of the population has already been covered. So in a vast country like India, and 73, when I said the IGL is servicing 4.5 crore, you thought it's a big number. But when I give you some comparisons, it is double of France, double of Japan. So a country like Japan has less than 2.5 crore people. So if you look at the size, this is a huge size, and if we actually cash in on this opportunity, there will be an exponential growth. You see, look at the committed minimum work plan of 9th and 10th round. We can see that there are at least 90,000 crores of investment lined up, 8,000 CNG stations being put up, 4 crore households are to be connected, all within the next 7 years. It was 8 years, but then 1 year is already over. So next 7 years, you can expect 4 crore households. That is around roughly 20 crore Indians to have piped natural gas in their kitchens. And as on date, what we have is around 60 lakh houses and 2,000 CNG stations. So the CNG stations will be 5 times, and the household also will be roughly seven times more after 7 to 8 years. So this will make natural gas a preferred fuel for transportation as well as domestic fuel. And now what we have is that, because the indigenous production of natural gas has been stagnant for some years, so the import facilities are to be added, and we expect that more and more import facilities are coming up, and then the import of natural gas will increase and will feed the demand of natural gas in the coming years.
Correct, sir. Sir, it's really very big plans, sir. The numbers which we are talking about is country like India having so much of population and so much of spread. Probably it's a really big plan. So probably 9th round, 10th round, which has been done in 1819, is very greater plan. As you have mentioned, the implementation is going to become in phased manner in next coming few years. Sir, the infrastructure, I mean, more than 200 geographical areas across country, licensing is one part, and creating infrastructure probably parallelly is second part. So do we have some national that grid system which supplies the gas to all these geographical areas? Do we have sufficient LNG stations? Of course, you have mentioned that station needs to be increased, but what way? Is there any mechanism? Is government doing something on that particular front? What are the initiative been taken over there, sir? Any idea on that?
Yes, of course. This government is very focused in what they are doing. And when this government took over in 2014, one of the this which was propounded, one of the projects was that to increase the share of natural gas from 6% to 15% in the primary energy basket of the country. So this is a big jump, 6% to 15% at a 4% growth of the energy consumption of the country. We were looking at a threefold increase in the natural gas consumption. So how can it be done? You see, there are three key factors for any fuel or any, for that matter, anything. Primary is the accessibility. So, it has to be accessible to all. How can it be accessible to all? If you will see, before 2014, the availability of gas was skewed to only western and northern parts of the country. So the eastern part was largely underdeveloped. Southern had a couple of small pipelines which were on the regional fields of ONGC. So the first thing that government did was the Pradhan Mantri Urja Ganga, which took the gas pipeline to eastern India. And now they are taking it to the northeast India also through the Indradhanush pipeline mechanism. So that, more or less address the, accessibility part of it. Next comes the availability. Availability means how much you need, that should be available. Since indigenous, as I told you, indigenous gas is limited, so we have to import. And the import terminals were, promoted. And today we have, the import terminals were also largely confined to western part of the country, western coast. So in the east coast now, Ennore has come up, Dhamra is expected to come up, and a couple of more in the West Bengal and Andhra Pradesh are in the pipeline. They may come up in the next 5 years. So that will not only distribute the availability, import infrastructure availability, but it also increases it. So that is the availability part. Now the third thing is the affordability. That was addressed by the government by giving gas to the, the domestic gas as a first priority to city gas distribution. So now people have access to cheap gas for CNG and PNG. So it's not a big hit on their pockets. So this will make people or incentivize people to go over to a green fuel, which will create less pollution, and it will be good for them also. So the economic advantage as well as the environmental advantage has been dovetailed by the government through this.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
I'm sure, Ankur, you might also have a few questions.
Sir, just continuing with the government intervention, as we all know that CGD itself is a very complicated field, and it is highly regulated. If we were to, though government is doing a lot, but if we were to create a wish list wherein three things which we feel that where the government should relax in this particular area, what would those three wish list would be?
Okay, first of all, what we were all clamoring as right from the day one of GST implementation was gas should be in GST, because gas is now in VAT, so each state has a VAT, and then the gas customers don't get input credit because they are paying VAT for gas and their products are under GST. So that particular thing is always there. The government, if should put the gas in the GST. That has been a request demand from the industry for quite long, and I hope that it will be done within the next 1 year. Then the free access availability of gas can be again brought by a mechanism of gas exchange, where the supplier can sell and the buyer can buy at a very transparent rate, largely on the lines of the power exchange. So that can be done, and of course government has been quite forthright in doing promoting the PNG front. They have got all defense and government accommodations to have compulsorily gas connection. Then another thing that they have done is the SATAT, sustainable alternative in transportation. This is using biogas for transportation. So there is an ambitious plan to open 5,000 biogas plants in the country at a investment of more than 1,500 to 2,000 crores, where 5 MMTPA of gas will be produced. So this has an advantage that it will be localized. It will be using the local waste, bio waste, and supplying gas to that area. So the waste is also consumed, and then there will be local entrepreneurs who can come up by putting up small biogas plants. This will give some, balanced growth for the country. Then there is also, our main program. Whenever we implement the city gas structure, there are two things. One is the right of way permissions from various authorities. There are 20 authorities giving permission. Then also to set up a CNG station also you need 14 to 15 permission. These can be streamlined, looking at the larger interest of government in improving the ease of doing business, and the government is right on track, and then I hope that CGD will grow at a faster rate than it has been growing.
So sir, just continuing with the same regulatory framework, I mean, since again the business is complicated, it requires a bidding at the PNRB level. So sir, if you would be kind enough to just walk us through in terms of how this process itself takes place, and how, since considering that now with the new regulation that probably the tariff is now fixed for 8 years tenure, is it that cost effective for new entrants to basically enter, or only the existing player can only support this particular line of business?
No, it is not like that. The PNGRB bidding, the requirement is very quite liberal in that any new entrepreneur can also bid for a GA and start a CGD business. We have seen a lot of young entrepreneurs coming up, Unison, Enviro, and a lot of people, first generation, second generation entrepreneurs entering into city gas distribution because of that. Plus also we have seen on the other end big companies which are into utilities like Torrent and Adani. They are also into the city gas in a big way. The public sector players are already there. Then there has been a good amount of foreign investment also in that. Some of the foreign companies also, think as Singapore and AGNP Philippines, they have also come. So it's a pretty attractive area where everybody is looking for it and everybody are on a level playing field. Then how it works is that the NGRB has the latest one. They have actually refined the process over round from round. So in the 9th and 10th round, they have finally come to a technical evaluation thing, in the sense that there are marks assigned to how much CNG stations you will make in the first 8 years, how many households you will connect, how much steel pipeline you will lay, plus also what will be the tariff you will charge to a third party after the exclusivity period for transportation as well as compression. So this has 10% each and the other ones have 80%. So it's largely technical and a bit of commercial also. And then whoever has quoted the highest will be given. We have seen some supposedly unreasonable bids, because in their enthusiasm to quote a higher figure, some people have quoted. But of course we expect that the growth in the population in the household will take care of that, because we are going into virgin areas where gas has been unheard of. So you really don't know how much people will embrace it, and we hope that with more environment appreciation, people will go for gas, and I hope that all of them will fulfill the minimum work program committed by them.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Sir, since you mentioned, it has become more level playing field and there is a big now private players participation. I would like to basically talk about and just the participation of two players. One is Total, the other is AGNP, and both of them have emphasized on having a robust LNG regasification infrastructure in the back end. So how does, sir, this backend LNG regasification infrastructure will take place, in the sense that will IGL also have a role to play? Can it become a mover or shaker in this particular segment also?
Yeah, actually India is a vast country, and pipeline infrastructure costs per kilometer. Every kilometer costs money. So taking gas through long distances is definitely prohibitively costly. So what happens is, now I also told you that the GAs have become big. There are more GAs with 2 districts, 3 districts, and also it's virtually impossible to connect all of them through pipeline. It will be very costly. So the alternative then is to transport gas through other means. Pipeline is the cheapest mode of transport given the volume, a good volume. If the capacity is not there, pipeline is not the cheapest mode. Then you have to look at other modes. There is a cascade by road and also an LNG by road. So cascade, you have to compress it. So there is an amount of expense involved, operation expense. In LNG, because we are importing LNG and there are LNG regasification terminals, we can directly get the LNG from there. That is okay for, which is nearby, say 500 to 1000 kilometers from the coast, that becomes viable. Beyond that, it's a problem. So then there are some small scale regasification plants also in the market, which is actually quite popular in Latin America and East Europe also. So there, what they do is, at one point in the pipeline, you take out gas, liquefy it, and then carry it through the remainder part, say another 500 kilometers in liquid form. So this sort of thing is bound to come in all these GAs. Some of the GAs in IGL portfolio, we have this Rajsamand district, which can never be reached through pipeline, so that will run on LNG all through. Ajmer and Pali doesn't have a pipeline today, but we expect that it will have some in another 5 to 8 years. So until then, temporarily it has to run on LNG. And we will definitely be a player in this. We are just looking at how the business is panning out. We are doing our in-house works, of course, but for others also as a service, we can always provide, like there is no pipeline to Jammu or northern Punjab today. So we can take it from Haryana, Karnal or somewhere, liquefy it and carry it by road. The road network is quite efficient in these states and we can supply. So that's one area which IGL is keenly looking at and we will enter it at the right time.
Sir, my last question probably would on the regulatory front again would be that since PNGRB Act itself has evolved over a time, and since you are saying now the government is also creating a very level playing field, and where the new entrants are now being allowed and encouraged to get into this lucrative thing. But don't you think, sir, that the first entrant, which with time, who was seemingly to create the hegemony, like IGL had a fixed Delhi region, this hegemony eventually will get broken, and probably it will affect the already established player in the market?
It's not a hegemony. What I would say is that, once you enter a GA and then invest, as I told you, it's around 1 crore per kilometer for steel pipeline and more, around 50 lakhs for the MDP pipeline you have to spend. That's quite big capex. So that much capex outlay once you put, this is basically to spread the infrastructure. So once you spread the infrastructure, then as the market evolves, wherever what is required, if a CNG station is required in one area, we will open. Like that we will go. But then, it happened in airline industry also, it happened in telecom, everywhere. When you open up the industry to others, what happens is that those people will be, riding on the shoulders of the infrastructure creator. So they will have to pay this one, but it is mostly, they don't have to invest. It is a service industry. I look at whether I make some profit out of this or not. If I make a profit, then I sell. Whereas the creator of the infrastructure has already sunk the money. And the infrastructure projects give you, return of the whole investment in around 14 years, 12 to 14 years. So though competition is welcome, it will not be a very easy thing. There are a lot of, other things which will come into play. Once you actually implement it, you will find you will have to allocate domestic gas to him. How will you allocate? Will you make domestic gas free? Or you will take domestic gas all and make it in a pool of RLNG and domestic gas and make it freely available. So those type of decisions also has to follow. So opening up is one thing, but then the the procedure, process, and the ecosystem that needs to be developed. So I think it is not India is not ready for that because our market is not mature. Today still we have availability in pockets and transportation in only in some areas. So unless it is equitable and available freely all over the country like a Western world, UK or a USA, this will not work very well. We can try. So PNGRB is also telling that they will do it on a trial basis in 3-4 areas. So let them come out with it. We are keeping our fingers crossed. For us, it is, both ways. We have experience in this area. So if they open up, if it is opened up all over the country, we get to go to other places also, not only confined to our 18 districts. We will go all over the place and sell and use our expertise to serve the customer in a better manner.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. Manish, I take a pause right now, and you would like to probably continue.
So, sir, continue with the what you have elaborated, sir. I think If we talk about the numbers, sir, I read somewhere Delhi and Mumbai that contributes about 60% of CNG stations by oil marketing company. So if there is no exclusivity, probably how things is going to be taken care, that yet to test. So only the coming time will throw some more light on that. What you say makes sense, sir. But sir, if I talk about today, there is a huge talk as well as initiative which has been driven on electrical vehicles, sir. So because CNG, it's a lot of sell to from CNG station towards the vehicle fuel. And once electrical vehicle came into picture, and there is a lot of initiative by government also to promote electrical vehicle. So what kind of impact we can evaluate on the business of CGD, more particularly on our CNG stations, sir? That it will be impact. I mean, definitely it is going to be impact, but how much the depth, and what are the measures which can be taken, sir?
Yeah, I consider EV as, another vehicle segment on running on another fuel. But personally, I think there is still a long way to go before we see e-vehicles booming in the market. Today, we have less than 1% of the registered vehicles are EVs. There are constraints. There is like charging infrastructure. We don't have charging infrastructure. We don't have the regulatory and legal framework in place to allow charging freely. Then there is always that battery disposal and efficiency of the EVs, which are still looking for a technological breakthrough. Once it happens, EV will boom surely. But then until then, I personally feel CNG will be the bridge fuel for transportation. In the long run, going from liquid fuel to EV, it has to pass through CNG. Either it will be fully CNG or hybrid CNG, and going forward to full EV. And I don't see an immediate impact of e-vehicles in the CNG vehicle market. There is space for both. Almost entire public transportation is running on CNG because of the economic consideration I mentioned. And we are now increasing the spread of CGD. We are going into new areas. So there the CNG will come because it is a tried and tested type. All the car manufacturers, all the bus manufacturers are coming out with CNG variants of all their models. So there is a new consciousness among the manufacturers of the vehicles also in CNG. So suddenly consumers leaving CNG and adopting e-vehicles will be a thing which you can see in the near future. There has been no sufficient number of electric charging facilities as of now, and that will be a big bottleneck as far as the e-vehicles are concerned.
Right. So, sir, you rightly touch upon a point. I was also curious to ask that question. In IGLs, most of the revenue, I mean, substantial part of the revenue is coming from cell volume through CNG station. And CNG station, is it just because of there is a government norm to run vehicle on CNG, or there is an economics behind that? So you have rightly mentioned CNG running vehicles on the CNG fuel is quite economical as compared to at least petrol and diesel. That's a good point, good takeaway, sir. Sir, if I shift our focus a little bit on the future plan and future strategy of government, sir. I was reading somewhere that Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas is in talk with PNGRB to bring the changes in the city gas distribution norms that give priority to this entity for locally produced gas. In current gas allocation policy regime, city gas has priority the allocation of the cheap domestic gas, followed by the fertilizer sector. Fertilizer is the first one. But in February 19, last year, the committee chaired by Niti Aayog Vice Chairman had reportedly recommended to withdraw this gas supply at concessional rate to the compressed natural gas and pass it through directly the end user, the consumers of the domestic kitchens. That is limited to PNG only. Sir, can you please throw some light on the subject, like what kind of likely impact on the CGD sector if this comes into picture? Instead of subsidized rate gas, the locally available gas, supplying it to the company and passing the subsidy directly to the PNG consumers, PNG local kitchens. In that case, there is a hit on the CGD companies. What is your view on that, sir?
First of all, let me make it clear that the administered price mechanism of domestic gas is not a subsidized gas. It is a weighted average of 4 different international market prices. So basically, this is a weighted average of the domestic gas available in 4 international markets. Now, the problem here is that our other gas is imported, and import of gas involves liquefaction. So a gas available at $2.50 in America, by the time it has to reach Indian shores, it becomes $7. $3.50 for liquefaction and $1.50 to $2 for transportation. So that is the amount which gets added to that. So it is the cost of transporting that fuel. It is not that that fuel is cheaper or expensive. So now, because 1/2 of the gas that we are using in the country comes from outside the country, and that is, adding a $4 or $5 for the other thing, liquefaction, regasification and transportation. That is why this gas becomes cheap. And if you look at CNG's competitors, it is petrol, diesel. You all know that 70% of the cost of petrol is taxes. So that is again going to government only. So it is now today 33% cheaper than diesel, 55% cheaper than petrol to run a CNG car or a bus, is because of the cost that is available for, at which it is, they are all sold. So there is no involvement of subsidy. So tomorrow you say that the domestic gas can be increased, the cost of the price of domestic gas can be increased by the government. They can increase it, or they can, pool some RLNG from LNG into that and say this pooled gas price will be available to all city gas distribution companies. So it will depend on the government. Today, right now, government has a clear-cut focus of improving the gas usage, broad-basing the gas availability, and broad-basing the customer profile of the natural gas. So that is why it is now sticking to this APM price. If you will remember, it was 4.2 long back, and today it's less than $2.5. So it is, but then today post-COVID, a different situation has come. Today, spot prices have come at par with the APM price. Spot price is available, DES, that is the ex-terminal price, before regasification is more or less equal to the domestic price. So this will fluctuate and the market conditions will take over. And even with this price, a domestic consumer of PNG is paying 5% less than the subsidized LPG price. So by giving PNG, government is actually saving a lot of subsidy on that particular customer. That 12 cylinder subsidy, subsidy part is not there, because once he shifts to PNG, the subsidy is no longer to be paid. So that way, I expect that the market forces will prevail once this increases. More than that, the concern should be that if city gas distribution increases exponentially as it is doing, at some point you will not have domestic gas to give to city gas. Then what will happen? So policy makers will come up with some innovative formulas, and this, because it has to be the interest of the country to be prime, and then the other considerations should come.
Sure, sir. Makes sense. Sir, probably last question from my side, sir. Uh,
No.
It's related to the current situation, sir, current pandemic of COVID, sir. We all are reading day in, day out in all the media that this pandemic, the COVID, has affected most of the industries badly, sir. So, of course, I will split my question into two parts. The first part, sir, do you think really the CGD industry is also getting affected, at least from the supply chain side, may not be on the consume side, but on the supply chain side, COVID has impacted any kind of business of CGD part A? Part B, if the answer is yes, probably nowadays to overcome this kind of situation, more and more technologies are being used. Just now we are having this webinar on e-platform. That is also because of COVID, and otherwise we could have met physically in some good hotel or some auditorium and having discussion one-on-one basis. So this all because of COVID, which has forced us to adopt new technology and newer means of working, newer means of having business, having conversation. So, sir, first question is, COVID impacted on the supply side? Second, is there any technology available or can be evaluated by CGD company which can be equipped with to overcome this kind of issue?
I will take the business side question first. This type of webinar are actually one of the biggest threat to city gas distribution companies, because I see 150 people sitting at home and joining it. Otherwise, they would have traveled some at least 5 to 10 kilometers and they would have used some fuel. That would have added to our top line, bottom line of the CGD company in whichever state it is using. Then some commercial also, like you said, should be in a hall. There should be some tea made, and those things also add to again the gas business. So supply has, the business has definitely affected. But then each, our CNG sales came down to 10%, a 90% drop in April. In May also, somewhat it improved to 20%. In June, we are seeing it is not even now 50%. So our forecast is that within 4 to 5 months, it may become normal. But what is normal? We want more economic activity, more people moving around. So the schools are closed, the call centers are closed, everybody is working from home. That is bad news to CGD. But then it is good news to some other people. So we have to find more and more, innovative ways to sell gas. We want to sell more appliances to the customers so that per capita use of gas will increase. See, if I am able to today, one customer use half a cubic meter at home in the kitchen burner. If he is provided some other appliances like a heater or an air conditioner or a fridge running on gas, his consumption may increase by another half. Another half means by 14 lakh customers, and going forward we will have 25 lakh customers. So 1.2 million per day will increase just like that. So we will go for such things like increasing the per capita one. That is how we have to make up for this loss in the CNG. Otherwise 75% of the revenue comes from transport sector. And yes, vendor side, if you will see, the supply chain is there. Even people say China has normalized, but then our Chinese suppliers are also not getting it. He says my factory is open, but my part supplier, he is not open. So all the chain has to work well. So that is surely disrupted. Some people who had some localized and captive production of spare parts, everything, they are able to supply. Others will all take at least 6 months to start supplying. The pipes, the compressors, the dispensers, all those equipments, now they are all declared force majeure. Post this unlock 1.0, slowly people are starting, but then industry has not started fully. Basically, they have a problem of, fear of COVID, and then there is scarcity of manpower also, which has actually gone back to their home state. It will take another 6 months for them to actually come back and normalize. So that we are looking at next 6 months, a lean period. Commercial sector is completely down. I don't know when you and I will go to a restaurant and we'll have dinner. So unless that happens, then our commercial customers will not be drawing gas. Pharma, food, and packaging industry, they are running. But what about other industries, luxury goods, all those things? How the demand will grow, how they will start up. So though they have their own problems of supply chain, labor, everything, the problem will also there on the demand. I have not stepped out of my home to a mall to buy something for the last 3 months, 4 months. So is every other citizen in the country. Look at the loss of business. If that much business is lost, the inventory will pile up and the factories has to close down. So that will also indirectly affect us. So we are keeping our fingers crossed, hoping for the best. I expect within 6 months, things will come back to, if not normal, at least 80% normal.
Very much, sir. I think by and large, you have addressed my set of questions, sir. Ankur, you have any additional things or?
Yeah, there have been one or two questions which have come from the audience as well. So I thought that instead of we going through the routine, there is a question specifically, since sir has mentioned, and there is a question which has come on force majeure. So basically, though sir has talked in terms of the grievance of the situation, in terms of how COVID has impacted the entire business and how indirectly it is affecting the companies per se in terms of the overall commercial activity. But sir, one specific question is that it's very peculiar that somebody says that we know that IGL is a zero debt company, but how about the other CGD companies which have taken so much of debt to create the infrastructure? Do you think that this COVID, if it doesn't get normalized in 6 months, what is going to be the fate of those companies?
No, as I said, business evolves. So once this is there, when there is a scarcity of capital, what happens is the service sector comes up. So already we have heard some of the PE companies and the investors coming in and investing, saying I will be giving the equipment on a lease basis. So the company doesn't need to pay upfront capital cost. They have to pay as they use. So that will be a what do you call that service model, which is evolving. We wanted to try out one as a test case, just to give a flavor to the vendors as well as the companies, how it can be done. So plus then there will be franchisee models. Today somebody is ready to put up a CNG station, and then he only wants a commission on the sales. So that way the city gas company saves on the capex, and somebody with some spare capex is able to contribute to or enter into this industry. So that type of thing will come. I expect that the service model will flourish, and we will see more and more players. There are these pension funds, equity funds based out of US and Canada, who for them even 6%, 7% return is good because they get only 1 or 2% at home. So those people will come and a new type of business will evolve.
Sure. And probably, sir and Manish, we've got maybe a room for one last question to probably address. This is again, sir, it is an off the cuff which has come in the sense that monsoon plays a very critical role in India. And continuing with the force majeure, somebody has suggested that, how does it impact the CGD sector? And does it also affect the demand? Can it affect the implementation in round 9 and 10?
Yes, implementation, of course. The the labor and the workforce is not available today, and we don't know when they will be available in full course. And it's a catch-22 situation. So normalization, we will have to see how it pans out. I expect some people have even predicted 24 months slowdown as far as the construction and the implementation of the minimum work program is concerned. It's a combination of capital, it's a combination of the availability of manpower, contractors, everybody. So if you look at the whole chain, value chain, there will be definitely a pullback, and it may vary any day, anything from 1 year to 2 years, depending on whom you are talking to. So that is always there. So we will expect our regulator to take note of that and give adequate consideration to all the CGD companies, which I am sure PNGRB is looking at it. Everybody has represented to them. And our vendors also, they have to come up. We will look for more and more innovative offerings from them. And the social distancing guidelines, how it will affect the manufacturing, how it will affect the service industry, how it will affect our customers, that is to be seen. As I told you, what we say normal, the definition will change in the next 6 months to 1 year. And after 1 year, of course, everything will be back to normal, surely.
Thank you so much, sir, for such insightful, perspective, not only about the CGD industry per se, but about the overall economy as such also. And no wonder, considering that, so thorough and hands down you are with the overall approach, that IGL has reached such level. And probably, we pray and wish that, under your leadership and able guidelines, IGL keeps flourishing and keeps this flag high and remain the numero uno company in this particular field. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Manish.
Thank you.
And thanks
Thank
to
you,
the audience.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your message.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye.